Allah sent them there. And then who's after Rasulullah? Youssef spoke about it. Umar or Abu Bakr. Who's after Rasulullah? Abu Bakr. And then Umar. The start by the way in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq started. Brother Youssef spoke. And now is the ignorant time that Alhamdulillah clean after the Sahaba. And now we do not, in our present time, more ignorant time. Sometimes maybe it happened to me and I don't know. That's why when something like this, ask the people of the knowledge if you know. Now, inshallah, we're going to start about it. I want to share together, inshallah, and all the questions in the English. All right, inshallah? And have we have food after that. But it's
before we start, this is an emotional day for me. It's the last time physically I will be sitting next to this man, so I came planned ahead with something to honor him from the beginning for what he's meant to me in my life. Anyone who knows me knows I'm very antisocial in some areas. I've never been involved in masjids much before. I've had very negative experiences both here and abroad. But when I met this man the first time, and he didn't even know me, he gave me that big bright smile that he has. I knew he was different. When I told him about my ideas after watching him, seeing that we were on the same page, he gave me an opportunity that few ever would, obviously. And I'm internally grateful for that. And I want to dedicate tonight to him. I also got something for him. That's why I went out when you had your back turned about to leave the salah to bring this in. I had to unpack it so I could fit it in my book bag, so it would be too obvious. But I figured this could go on your book. Because we talked about Masjid Al-Aqsa and the liberation, inshallah, and how much it was near and dear to his heart, so he could have a piece of Masjid Al-Aqsa at all times until that great day comes, and we know it will, inshallah, sooner rather than later. But I didn't want to get emotional myself. I wanted to go ahead and do that in the beginning. But he meant a lot to me. He's done very good, amazing things for children. Very rarely you find an imam who gets it. You know, most of them think you just have to have a good sounding voice, and you come in, you lead the salah, but it's much more than that. It's about being a mentor. It's about being a father figure. It's about doing a lot of it. You're not allowed to praise yourself, but I am. All right. I wanted to get that out of the way at the beginning. I didn't want to touch Uthman to this week, so we kind of backed it up because I had this planned. I didn't know how long it would take. Obviously, I wanted to honor him. It was a heavy heart that he would be leaving us. You know, he's meant so much to me and this community. So this issue we were talking about tonight came up because I'm heavily involved in debate culture. I've been a debater all my life. It's something I enjoy, whether I was an atheist debating Christians at 13 or 14. Debating politics. I've always been someone, in fact, largely the reason I'm Muslim sitting in front of you today is because of a brother in Canada's excellent debating skills, Shabir Ali. I watched a lot of his lectures back in 2010. I don't agree with some of the things he's done recently. That's a different story for a different time, but he was very instrumental in my conversion, how he handled himself in debate. And me coming into those debates from a neutral perspective, I mean, I really saw Islam was coming up on top. You know, in all these debates that I was watching between these scholars who literally they eat, breathe, and sleep their designated religions, you know, and I've been seeing a lot lately and over the last 10 to 15 years, Muslims run from the question that we're going to talk about today. Christians inevitably, and we talked about in my Defending the Messenger of Allah ﷺ series, we talked about Asia, you know, and the attacks there. We talked about the war, the jihad, you know, all the attacks that come there. But this is another big one that they love to come after us with. And I'm very disappointed. And men that I have tremendous respect for, the way they just kind of, you know, they cower when this question is posed to them. They duck and they run. They don't want to talk about it. Where you can defend it, we're going to give you the tools tonight, especially for our new Muslim brothers and sisters here who undoubtedly you're living in secular West. You're probably going to hear these questions asked of you. Oh, do you believe you should kill an apostate? Or what do you think should be done to apostates? And we're going to give you a clear answer as to why. we have the Sharia laws that we do, why it makes sense. I'm going to give you both examples from the life of the Messenger, from the time of the caliphs up until Uthman, who we're going to cover in detail next week. We are going to see where this stuff reared its ugly head inside of the Muslim society and led to the murder of an appointed leader. We are going to see how bad this stuff can go if it's not contained early on. So why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his last and final messenger, our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so strict on this? And we are going to outline all of those arguments today. And I want you, when they come to you and they say to you, oh, you believe you should do this to an apostate? You say, yeah. And you have and you want to know why. You have it here. Let's do this, intelligently. Let's do this dignified and civilized. But we are going to break it down for you tonight. What is an apostate? First and foremost, for those of you who are new, an apostate is someone who has converted to Islam, who has taken the Shahada, and has basically deviated or left the religion. Now, when you were in the West, this would seem like, so what? It's no big deal, right? I was telling Sheikh Ibrahim before the session tonight, I knew a girl in high school. She changed her religion 4 times in a month. She was a Buddhist, then she became a Wiccan, then she became some other, they worship the woman, as some kind of a deity. And I mean, it's just all over the place. And it was like a garment. It was like going to the mall and buying a new chain. Look at me, I'm this today. So when religion is so cheap, obviously when someone says to you that this is a very serious matter, they're going to look at you, that's crazy. You're some kind of fanatic. Because that's how they've always been taught to see basically God and to see religion, to see morality and righteousness. When you were taught multiculturalism, which we're going to talk about later today, the main premise of multiculturalism is that some cultures are not better than others. They're all equal. So a culture that sacrifices human beings on the top of a pyramid to a sun god is equal to a culture that believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and treating all human beings of all races, colors, and creeds equally. It's not equal. It is not. And this is the main premise. And we're going to come back to multiculturalism later. Multiculturalism does not work. It has never worked. We've had in Islam, multiracial societies have prospered, but we all had one culture. We had an Islamic culture. So we're going to come to that a little bit later on and go into the details of why this is such an important matter and how multiculturalism tears the fabric of a society apart. So what is the Sharia stand on this? I think most of you probably already know. For those of you who are new, share one of the most famous hadiths. This hadith is found in Sahih Bukhari 983:17, as well as Sahih Muslim 16, hadith number 4152. This hadith is repeated multiple times. It has a sound chain of narration. It's in both of our most top, hadith collections. The blood of a Muslim who confesses that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that I am the messenger or apostle of Allah, cannot be shed except in 3 cases. Qiyas for murder. So we all know, everybody familiar with that? What exactly that means? You want to elaborate? For murder.
To kill a person without right. Yeah. And actually, mass massacres in Muslim all over the world. All over the world now.
So you have that one aspect, you're allowed to shed when there's been a murder committed as a retaliation for a murder, equal eye for an eye, so to speak. Adultery among married people, we're all familiar with that. That is the second time a Muslim can share, basically, or shed the blood of another Muslim. And third is, as it says, one who leaves Islam for good, basically, turns his back on the Muslim. So we have right here a very clear ruling. There is no debate. There's no misinterpretation of this. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said was to be done with people, who left. We see similar stories. We find in Sahih Bukhari 452, you see the story of Ali as told by Ibn Abbas. Ali had burned some apostates, and Ibn Abbas had basically chastised him, or criticized him, if you will, for doing this. But the reason he criticized him was that the fire was the punishment of Allah. And that basically you are not to do that. That is Allah's punishment. But he did not agree, and he comes and quotes in the hadith, because the messenger of Allah ﷺ had said those who leave the religion are to be killed. So again, there is no debate. This is a clear issue, and we should not be ashamed to have this discussion. It is in our books. It's in the most authentic of collections. It's not buried in some hadith collection that no one's ever heard of with unknown narrators. This is right there in both Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. Now, should we go and just hand out this punishment, so to speak, for someone who has doubts, or someone who, people are emotional, things go wrong in your life. You may want to curse God, you may want to curse the religion, things go on. We all have been emotional, at one point in time or another. But we have from the life of Umar ibn Khattab, example, basically again of how you were to handle someone in this particular position. In the Muwatta of Imam Malik, there is a story basically of Umar rejecting a ruler because he handed out this punishment without giving counsel to the gentleman. This was a gentleman who was vulnerable. He was someone who was emotional, and basically at that moment in time, he felt he was going to leave the religion. Did someone just take a sword and just do him in? No, absolutely not. There was a process that went on of counsel, of giving sincere, honest advice, to this person, trying the best you can to change them back to the way that you see fit. Now, I'm going to start the main bulk of the lecture as we've all kind of established the premise that this is something that is important in our religion. But we are going to define why, is it important? Many reasons, obviously. As I told the story in the Abu Bakr as-Siddiq biography that we did here, we saw that pretty much after they put the messenger in the ground, so they were selling, what was going on, around Arabia. You had apostasy everywhere. Some refused to pay zakat. Some said, I'm not paying zakat to him, but I'll pay zakat to the messenger. But no more. Some said, I'm not paying zakat at all. Some said, can we skip the Isha and the Fajr prayers? We had prophets popping up during the time. Muzaylama, I always pronounce that name. It's a tongue twister in the English. Muzaylama. The famous liar who concocted his own scriptures, who raised an army which caused the most deaths of any Muslim army during that Ridda War period of time. We saw the women of Yemen, who were fornicating and having drunken things I'm not going to mention on camera in honor of the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we ask ourselves again, who are these people? Why are they leaving? Why would someone leave Islam? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unreasonable? Are the things that he asks us to do that daunting? Pray 5 times a day. Don't steal. We'll talk about that in a minute. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery. Don't blaspheme the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Follow righteous rulers. I mean, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking us to go and clean the bathroom floor with a toothpick like the United States military does in boot camp? I mean, I don't think these things are very strict, that we're being asked. We're asked to do sensible things that make the society better, that make your life, better. So if someone wants to leave that, the only choice you're going to see is they are going to go and they are going to engage in their desires, pretty much. And I'm going to outline stories of several of those individuals later where you can see a clear picture, just like you can see from the ones in the Ridda Wars. You see, I don't want to pay the money. I don't want my wealth to be donated to people who need it. I don't want to pray those 2 prayers because I want to sleep at night and I want to sleep in the morning. I don't want this. I don't want that. It was all about their desires. The reason they were leaving Islam. If you allow one bad apple, we have a saying in English, one bad apple spoils the bunch. You have one bad member of the community, it multiplies. You have then 2 bad members of the community. Those 2 can multiply and form 4 bad members of the community. And all of a sudden, you've got just deviancy, everywhere, widespread. This is why this is such an important topic. We are seeing now in Muslim countries, things that were unheard of 4 years ago, even are going on now. I mean, I was shocked when we were talking a couple of weeks ago about what's going on in the GCC region, nowadays, the festivals that they are having over there and the events that they are having, the openness that's being encouraged over there. You've got atheists running podcasts now inside of Saudi Arabia, and they're not being criticized by the government or being taken down. But you have Muslim conservative people who are doing podcasts critical of the music and the entertainment that's being brought, and they're being censored in 2 seconds. So you're seeing, what's been going on here in this country for quite some time, where that type of behavior is promoted, magnified, it's given a platform where if you oppose it, you're the one who's censored. You are the one who is shut down. Again, 1 bad apple, 2 bad apples, 4, 8, millions, and all of a sudden you don't have anything that's recognizable anymore. Just in a matter of 40 years, in my lifetime, I'm 44 years old, what I have seen them do to a Christian country with these same tactics. How now it's unrecognizable, this country, here in 2023 to what it was when I was born in 1979. Unrecognizable from a moral standpoint. So, why is it important? Again, cohesion, keeping the community together. Islam has had a success and a track record as a religion that no other religion can say. Islam brought people from all over the world together under the same banner. You had people in the Muslim armies from the darkest parts of Africa, from the whitest parts of Europe, from the Far East, to Bedouins who lived in the, scavenged in the desert for resources. All these people came together as brothers. You've never seen that, in any other religion. You look at the makeup of what we have here today in the masjid. You go to a Christian church, everyone knows that's the Asian church, that's the black church, that's the white church. Oh yeah, he was nodding with me. He knows. I mean, that's just how it is. It's always been that way. That's the black church. That's the white church. They even have Korean church. They'll even say that that's for them. Only in this religion can you see all these people have been brought together as brothers under a banner. Why does our enemy? Why does our enemy like multiculturalism so much? Because it divides the people. So when you have apostates, that is an element of multiculturalism, because that gentleman is going to be bringing a different set of beliefs and ideas into your society. Right now, we've got people on the same street. They don't understand each other. Everybody speaks a different language. That's why all of us as Muslims are encouraged to learn Arabic. So you can keep your native language, but then you have the Arabic as kind of the medium there to be able to bond and communicate between each other. So that bridges the gaps. But I mean, you have in your neighborhood, there's the Buddhist down there. There's the Hindu gentleman down there. You don't celebrate the same holidays. If you're a Christian, you put up your Christmas lights. They don't like it. They don't like a Hindu festival. No one wants to see Ramadan signs. I mean, it's just complete hatred and conflict that you have when you try to bring everybody from all these competing and different ideologies together. You cannot have brotherhood that way. Because when push comes to shove and you want to have a ruling or you want to have something done for your community, they're coming from different places and different motivations. So one of the main reasons I cited that apostasy is such an important issue is because it prevents us from falling into multiculturalism. Because it keeps Islam front and center in everybody's life. We always have something in common. We're always going to celebrate Ramadan together. We're always fasting at the same time. We have the same heroes. We have the same agenda for our children. We have the same moral code and all of those things. So that's one big reason as well. The second one I'm going to talk about is the fitness that we have seen in the past. Next week, we are going to go, and I concluded my Umar lecture when I said it was the last of the golden age. And after the death of Umar ibn Khattab is when everything started to fall apart. You had a gentleman that went by the name of Ibn Saba. I'm sure you're very familiar, a Yemeni Jewish convert who was responsible for what we are going to talk about in the life and times of Uthman ibn Affan that led ultimately to his martyrdom. Where these thugs stormed his house and stabbed him to death with his wife and family, on the inside. One of the tragic days, in Islamic history.
Please give attention. The Jewish number one. Now the Shia, right now, they celebrate the day he died when he killed Umar. He killed Umar ibn Khattab. And now we make a celebration. The Shia make a celebration for him. That's
Well,
why.
that's the other gentleman. Ibn Saba was the one who basically was spreading all. He's basically the founder of Shiism. He was part of the glorifying Ali and making Ali to kind of God.
No, actually, I understand. Ibn Saba, and now the Shia make a celebration for him. Like last week. Last week they make a celebration for him. That means the Shia consider that person as the prophet.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying because he was without him, I don't think we have the fitna of Sunni and Shia to this day.
Yes.
He is the father of this. Because part of what they do is they infiltrate. They do this now in every country that they work in. This is how they do their business. They get inside and then they start division and they divide the people, and the people who are divided are easy to conquer. I mean, without this gentleman, he's the one that first started the Ali being on a pedestal of godhood. You can almost argue in some of these circles. All came back from him. So you have an example here of what one man, one apostate with a mission and resources can accomplish. You have to just destroy this type of stuff as soon as you find it, or it's going to grow. We're still talking about this 1,400 years after the fact. It's still going on. You still have Sunni Shia. You still have the conflicts. You still have the celebrations like the brother was talking about. We went through with Umar. They had a shrine to the gentleman, the thug who killed Umar ibn Khattab. They had to close it because Al-Azhar in Egypt finally put pressure on Iran to stop letting them have festivals there. But still to this day, we are caught up in this stuff, so you have that example. You have obviously the Ridda Wars, which we went over in depth and went over highlighted here as well. And then now you're having it with all these, we call them compassionate imams. These are the new imams. You find them on YouTube. There was an imam recently, he said that women and men should do wudu together in the same room. And he said that your fiqh doesn't matter. Follow whatever you want. And you'll find they'll say some nice things in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they set you up for that shot. After they built up your trust, here it comes. Oh, you don't have to follow any of the rules. It's over. I mean, you just follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, done the end. And that's how they get it. It's not always as clear as someone coming out and blaspheming the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam or saying, I don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's usually inside. Slow, subtle changes. This guy is a god. This guy you can pray to. Visit the grave of this. And you had something you said you wanted to share earlier about the graves and what's going on now with that.
Actually, if you go to Egypt, for example, go to where the cave, the masjid called Masjid al-Hussein. Hussein Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. And they consider the masjid, the head of Ali Hussein, the son of Ali, died there. The head of there. Believe it or not, the Egyptian, the Muslim, not the Shia, not the Shia. Shia worse than that. The Muslim, they go visit the grave. Not only that, the grave like this. What they do in the grave, the people they consider themselves Sunnah. Following the Sunnah, they make 7 tawaf, 7 round, 7 times. And they speak to the grave. They speak to the grave. I'm talking about millions of Egyptians do that. Down to the grave. They make kufr. Plus, they go to area called Tanta, the city called Tanta city. Also, one of the righteous people died. They also celebrate that area. Zainab, the daughter or the granddaughter of Rasulullah in Egypt, grave also. The key, many graves in the Muslim world, except in Palestine. Many Muslim world, they worship, the people go to the grave, they ask the grave for their dua to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, until now this is happening. But in Palestine, in my city is that, especially in all Palestine, they stopped that completely. All this grave, they destroyed it completely. No one allowed to do that, alhamdulillah. The only city in Palestine only doing that, but not in the Muslim world. May Allah protect us. But my point, we go to the graveyards, to visit, not to ask dua for them to make dua for us. We make dua for them. What is the dua? Some people go to the grave, Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Yasin, Surah Al-Waqa, Surah. Nothing, no surah. You visit the grave if you want to, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I make dua for them. May Allah maghfir us, whatever Rahman does. Nothing else. There is no Quran to the graveyards. May Allah protect us.
Amen. Yeah. And the shaitan is going to get you to disbelieve in stages. Some people go right for the big one, right for the beginning. But one of the things is deifying human beings. That's one of the first ways, the first steps, is the person is an intermediary. Then after that, he becomes some kind of a saint, like a semi-angel, status in some religions. Then we see what happens with Christianity, where he becomes almost God in the flesh. The human being becomes deified in that. Then you have, after that, you have the progression to, well, I don't really have to follow him. I just have to believe in God. That's where you found Christianity. We're going to come to that in a minute here, where I don't have to follow anything. All I have to do is accept this, and then I can live my life as I want without any kind of, like consequences or requirements or anything. Then that step leads to just, there ain't no God. And it's just progression, one down the line. And that's why the grave worship, one guy asked me one time, he said, why is the grave thing such a big deal to you guys? And I said, it's about a progression. It's something that, for one, it's nonsensical, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very clear. You go to him. This thing you see in the Catholic Church where you go to the priest and you confess your sins to a man. Can God not hear me confess? Does that man, have a barrier in his office where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't see in there? So he's got to go after that confessional and talk to God for me? Is that what kind of God we have? Or do we have an all-powerful God that sees every action I know, thinks every thought in my head, knows what I'm thinking before I'm going to think it, obviously. And it's a progression. And he said they start praying to that grave. Then those people become saints. They get sainthood. You see this in some Catholic sects. You see this with some of the Sufis, and some of the weirder Islamic sects, where they have this saint guy. There was a gentleman, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was from India. He claimed he was the last prophet. If you said his name, I remember it. He was recent, last 150 years.
Ahmadi?
Yes.
Yeah, Ahmadiyya.
Yeah.
Until now, the rich people, very, very rich people.
You have those types. And then, like I said, it goes to the point that you just don't even believe in God at all. The end of the progression, it ends up just getting to that point. So some examples we see, again, when I talk about apostates, they always have the same type of behavior, don't they? You don't ever see like someone who left Islam and became some super moral, upstanding citizen. You don't see that. Or the media would shove it down our throat. They say, look, this sister left Islam. She's now a mother. She's successful. She's doing this. No. We're going to talk about the people that leave Islam and what ends up, why they actually leave. You could see within their actions. I was watching a debate the other day between a brother who does a lot of good work on YouTube. His name is Daniel Kikachu. And he was debating two Christians. One of them is the famous Robert Spencer. Robert Spencer is the author of the book saying that the messenger of Allah ﷺ did not even exist. He didn't exist. He was just made up as a religious figure. That's who Robert Spencer. He's like the top, of this Christian, you can say apologetics, anti-Islam, debaters. And he was there with a gentleman from Morocco who had left the religion. This guy had said he was an apostate. And that's when I got the idea to do this, was because this guy contradicted himself like about 4 to 5 times in the first 30 minutes. One, he said that the Muslims were so evil to him in Morocco that he was homeless and that he was living off the street and everybody had abandoned him. Then 20 minutes later, he literally said, well, I was wealthy, so I was able to get out of Morocco. I'm worried about the people who can't. So which one is it? Were you poor living on the streets because you're treated so badly by your family? Or were you the wealthy guy you said that was able to pay your own way out? But he said something that was very telltale between the two contradictions there, was that he heard about the story of Jesus. And he said, I was just mesmerized, I'm paraphrasing. I was mesmerized by it because he did away with the law, which actually he's not too familiar with his New Testament. It was Paul that did that. Jesus actually says in several of the Gospels, he was here to affirm the Torah law, to validate it. It was Paul later who changed the Christian law. But he goes on to say, basically, I don't have to follow anything. You know, I mean, I love this religion. You know, Jesus paid the price for me so I can go and commit sin after sin after sin. I don't have to worry about any consequence. This place is great. I like it. And that's pretty much what he said, but he said it in professional terms. You know, how much more compassionate this religion was than Islam. It didn't focus on punishments and things of the sort. So I can just do whatever I want. So right here you have an example again why this gentleman left Islam. He didn't say I left Islam because I found so much more depth in Christianity. I found so much more brotherhood or harmony in the Christian text. He didn't say no because it's not there. He said, I just simply want to do whatever I want to do. I want to follow my desires. And Jesus paid the price for me to be the sinner that I am. And I have no shame in it. I can do whatever I want. And that was, again, what we find here as a driving force. There was a thing the other day, and it was saddening to me, but I know why, that how many Muslim youth now are converting to Christianity. It's never been higher, unfortunately. And this is a large of the selling point, unfortunately, is this reason here. I mean, I can show up at church one day a week. I mean, I've even had men tell me they go to church to pick up women. I mean, it's like it's a social thing.
It's much easier there. It's much easier there.
Yeah.
Who's Paul?
I'll talk about this later. Yeah, I mean, it's like we come to the masjid. I don't think any brothers here come to the masjid with the intent of meeting a woman, much less picking them up. You know, obviously, God forbid. You know, we come here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become a better person. You know, but their whole religion is about socializing, being festive and singing songs and very little commitment. You know, you ask the Christian basic premises, they have no clue where they are found in their own books, if they're even in there. So it's a very, very easy religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very demanding of us as Muslims, but that makes us the best people we possibly can be. So you see again why this gentleman deviated. There's the famous, and this is a story that really shows it more even than this gentleman. There was the woman named Rahaf Muhammad. If anyone here has heard that name, back in, I think it was 2019 or 18, this woman got national headlines, international headlines, because she was tired of the female oppression that was going on in Saudi Arabia. She snuck out of the country, she ran away, and she came to Canada. And she basically just scalded Islam any chance she got. It was anti-woman. You know, she didn't feel like she was a real woman there. You know, they made her hate herself. And you look at this woman's life now. She is an OnlyFans model. She's doing things that I will not say on camera out of respect to the ladies and children, but they are not nice things. Needless to say, I think we know what goes on OnlyFans, most of us adults here. She's had a child out of wedlock. And it was such a bad situation that she gave a DNA test to a man. This was in the courts in Canada. And this man failed the DNA test, which means it had been more than one man that month. And she does videos online where, I mean, it's basically all there. I mean, for you to see. And she says this is what makes her a woman. She's proud of the new her. You know, you'll hear this all the time. And of course, the Canadian media is more than happy to say she's liberated. You know, Islam chained her to the kitchen sink. You know, now she's a free and liberated woman. I guarantee you, and God willing, she'll change and you know, go back. I mean, inshallah, we always want the best for people. But I have a tragedy is going to end in this story. It's going to be a drug overdose. It's going to be something, you know, or other that is going to take this woman down a dark path that she's already down. And you find, again, example of why this famous individual apostatized. Why she left? She wanted to follow her desires and she wanted to go into pornography. I mean, it's as simple as that. It was not, again, you know, if it was really about female oppression and not wearing the hijab or the niqab, you would have found her marrying a nice Christian man or something in the West and settling down and having a family. But that's absolutely not the case. That's not what happened at all. So again, you see the story of an apostate, like we talked, it goes all the way back to Abu Bakr Siddiq. Same behaviors, exact same things. Nothing has changed. Only the technology and the way that we live. Everything is exactly the same. These are people that just are following their desires. And we cannot allow it, to spread within our ummah. It will cause fitna. It will cause division. It will slowly bring down particularly young and vulnerable people. Do you have anything you wanted to add real quick? I want to take a drink right quick. So now with all the human rights, stuff that we see everywhere you go. It's all about human rights, and you find all the watchdog groups. They all are saying, in most Muslim countries now have removed these apostasy laws. And you are seeing, what true Muslim countries, honestly, do we have? If you look around at all of them, you'll see they're highly secularized. I was shocked, and I tell this story all the time. May have told it here and don't remember. When I first drove into Saudi Arabia from the Bahrain Causeway, first thing I saw in Saudi Arabia was not a masjid. It was the Golden Arches of McDonald's. This was back in 2011. It's gotten much, much worse now. But I was expecting to see, something Islamic, a beautiful masjid greeting me, hearing the adhan, this type of thing. No, I saw McDonald's. That was, is this really, the road that we're going down?
I think you're hungry.
Huh?
You're hungry.
Inshallah, I haven't eaten McDonald's since I think 2009. I've had some other junk food between then, but I've always, after I heard about the pink slime and the soaking the meat in ammonia, that was enough for me to stay away from it, kill my body other ways, like Wendy's or Burger King. You eat those, but there's a thing now going on there, going back to what I was talking about with multiculturalism, was that when I first moved to Saudi, one of the things I loved so much was that you could open the window when it was like wintertime. It's actually like the weather's nice there. It's not going to burn you alive. And you could hear there's 30 masjids within a radius around you, because there's like a masjid in every neighborhood. You literally can leave your apartment and take 2 steps out. There's a masjid right there. So you hear the adhans and they're all kind of off by 1 second. So it's this beautiful collage forms from those different adhans. It's amazing, actually. You've been there, you've heard it.
In Egypt and Cairo, in Turkey, same thing. If you go to Turkey, same thing. But now this month they stopped to do that.
That's where I was going. Yep.
Okay. The adhan now inside the masjid, only not inside the masjid. Now,
Turkey.
No, not Turkey. Turkey is outside, but Saudi Arabia only inside the masjid legally. Like one
We'll come into that. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's no worries. Because I was highlighting first the beauty that I used to see. Because back then, when I was in Saudi, it was like every neighborhood was 100% Muslim, and it goes back again to my point about multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Everybody loved hearing the adhan because everybody was Muslim. But as they started bringing in more and more non-Muslims, they were starting to complain that the adhan annoyed them. I heard people, because they thought because I was Caucasian from the West that I was obviously a Christian or an atheist. I heard people, Westerners who were working in some of the companies, and we'd be outside or whatever talking about work, and then they'd hear that and they'd say very derogatory things, about the adhan and how the adhan annoyed them and all these things. And Saudi Arabia has continued to import more and more people who are not Muslim and wanting to be more and more secular. Their excuse, I'm sure they've given many, but the one I heard was they said that it scared the children. They didn't want to bother the children in the home, which I thought was, come up with something better than that, please. But I had multiple children. My wife's family's quite big. We had babies everywhere over there. None of our babies cried or were afraid when they heard the adhan. Another thing, they used to play the khutbah, where you could hear the khutbah in your apartment as well. They've stopped that also. Because they said, again, that was frightening people, on the inside, because again, multiculturalism is going to inevitably lead to this. You are going to have eventually where no one gets along with anyone. No one wants to share anybody's religion or beliefs. And it's unfortunate. That's one of many things. They're coming they used to stop and close for prayer, when I was living there. They don't do that anymore, to what I've heard.
Yeah. Actually, even in Egypt now, they started before. And also in Tunisia, they started also not allowed to, but then only inside the masjid.
I think, can I make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think what's actually going on in Saudi Arabia has to do with the leader.
Yes.
Yes.
The crown prince, he has this idea of trying to imitate what's going on in the UAE. So he believes that if they don't try to open up their country the way the UAE open up, the UAE continue, according to them, they do not consider the religion anymore. They're looking at the prosperity, the money. And that's why they're putting all those things that weren't there before into the culture and destroying. I don't want to say destroying this, I don't know what can actually destroy the religion anyways. But basically, it is the leader that's allowing all this to go on.
100%. And it's not all bad. I saw something today that was great news coming out of there. They had a Masjid al-Haram. They had an intense Quranic memorization class for ladies. There were so many sisters there they couldn't fit in the walkway. It's like they were cramming in there to get in there. So we are seeing still there are some very good, firm believers in there who are holding the line, who are refusing to engage in this behavior. And like I said, that was really a warming, moment there when I saw
Youssef.
Youssef. When I saw how many sisters were still showing up, despite the fact that everywhere they go, they're being bombarded with propaganda and all these things. And you're gonna put him on camera? Oh, there is.
Youssef. Stefan.
So, we'll kind of wrap it up. We're talking about the human rights. And again, when we Muslims debate and argue, like I said, my opening monologue there about how the Christians will attack on this issue, they are coming at it from a place, again, that religion is cheap. It has no meaning. But as I've shown tonight, or inshallah, I hope I've shown tonight, religion is everything. Not only is it about the akhirah, your afterlife, it's about brotherhood among your fellow man. It's about the way that the society's run. It's about the way a governor governs. It's about the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you greet someone. It's much, much more than what I do to go try to pick up women on a Sunday afternoon, like I mentioned, earlier with the Christian churches, what they're doing there. It's a totality. It is a whole entire way of life. And when you allow one deviant, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the punishment what he was to his last and final messenger, our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why we have it that way? Because it has to be. Because again, one deviant, I said, becomes 2, becomes 4, becomes 16, becomes 1,000. And all of a sudden, we're asking ourselves what happened. And as we get, unfortunately, into the life of Uthman ibn Affan, towards the tail end of it, we are going to see what Ibn Saba was able to accomplish. And like I pointed out, 1,400 years later, we are still dealing with that fitna of that apostasy that happened long, long ago.
In fact, this is a real serious problem. Sister Layla, you are there? Sister Layla? Yes? Okay, she's shaking her hand. She spoke about very, very important topic. Al-wala wal-bara. Al-wala wal-bara is very important to understand this, very important. And sometimes shirk, by the way, is happening to me, and I don't know. Now, social media, some imams now, fake imams, it's beautiful talk, beautiful lectures, and millions of people follow them, and no aqidah. We no wala, follow what Allah said, what Muhammad said, what the Sahaba said. No, the way they speak is like a magic. So, alhamdulillah, we have to be careful. That's why, Sister Layla, what is that in English? Al-wala wal-bara.
Al-wala refers to having allegiance to Allah, allegiance to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and allegiance to the Muslims. And al-bara refers to disassociation or distancing yourself from anyone or anything that opposes what Allah says, what the Prophet says, and what Islam is all about. So al-bara would be disassociation or distancing yourself, and al-wala is allegiance, loyalty, and allegiance. Yes.
The point here, sometimes to maybe to us in our phone, our cell phone, in the family, in the community, in the masjid, especially in YouTube, many of those people that I will follow. Alhamdulillah, a lot of people in this masjid here, they come to me, oh, this person and this person. For example, one of the great shuyukh used to be Salafi is a doctor, Dr. Mustafa something in Egypt. And they consider him like a Salafi. But he praising Al-Sisi, the president of Egypt, so highly. And millions of people that follow him, they think he's the right one. But he speaks very eloquent, very sweet and talk, like shaitan speak, not sheikh speak, with knowledge. So we have to be careful with that. Inshallah, one day, inshallah, we can speak about what more details about this, inshallah.
The shaitan will never come to you with ugliness. He always comes to you with beauty.
Yeah, but
Always.
You go to Sunnahfollowers, by the way, Sunnahfollowers, Sister Laila, what time the time you spoke about Sunnahfollowers and about Wala in your lecture? Because I heard it when I came to the masjid, I heard you speak about it.
Yeah, that's every day.
You have a series to lecture about this?
Yes, that's women. Yes, that's every day at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern time at 6 o'clock. Go to a lecture in the past lectures and listen to the lecture 6 o'clock. Sunnahfollowers.com or lailanasheeba.com in the Facebook. Listen to that. And I heard actually many times I heard very important to listen al-wala wal-bara. Please, it's very important. Especially for all my respect, the new Muslims. So 6 o'clock says Layla, I will text you the lecture, inshallah.
Because once you know what the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you, it's impossible for them to work their deviant magic, if you will, on. Once you have sound core principles and knowledge, they try these techniques. That's why I always, tell my friends, I spot them a mile away. Like this guy I was talking about earlier, I watched him a little bit, okay, and you feel him out. There it is. You know what's up. He sets it up. He'll come with nice things, beautiful speech, as the Imam said, and then here's the deviancy.
Yeah.
And if you know sound knowledge, you know where it is. It's not coming from any place. It's not coming from a place of knowledge.
If you notice, last Jum'ah, I was actually in a conference in Houston, Texas, a conference. Thousands of imams came from different world, from America, Australia, Canada, imams, all of imams. In the cafeteria, both parties, some people supported the birthday of Rasulullah, some people against it. But I was talking about Jum'ah, but the problem, even imams in the United States of America and Canada speak about the Mawlid, the birthday of Rasulullah, and make celebration. Great people who love to listen to them. In the day of the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal, yesterday, they make a beautiful song and they convince and make a Eid. In fact, the scary part, that's al-Wala. In the Middle East, in Egypt, for example, in Palestine, in 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal is holiday, like Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. In Africa, the same thing. In Africa too.
They do celebrate.
And Morocco also.
In fact, there's a national holiday. There's a national holiday.
In Jordan, That's cool. Yeah, that's me. That's what's very important. Al-wala wara. Understand the meaning shahada, true shahada, and to understand from the shirk, and a lot of work that is a holiday. That's not Eid. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الحديث صحيح البخاري ومسلم يعني عيدان عيد الأضحى وعيد الفطر. There's no other third Eid. The birthday of imagine I heard the Jum'ah yesterday said Rasulullah sallallahu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he died 12 Rabi'ah. He died. We're supposed to be sad in that day, not dance. My family in Palestine. Oh, birthday. Then of course I have to give a big lecture for my family, the tribe in Gaza. I give the huge lecture about it and talk. It's a shame. You are mujahideen. You are in a war, 24 hours, war. If you die like this, it's a disaster. That's the whatever. It's very important to understand this. Inshallah, soon we're going to speak more about that. Maybe that. Okay. Sunnahfollowers, any question? Sunnahfollowers, any question? Sunnahfollowers. Or
Sunnahfollowers.
Sunnahfollowers actually very important. 24 hours.
Yes.
Especially about the one in charge, Sister lailanasheeba, is a female, and it's called Allah. I'm not raising her, say the truth. And please tell your mom and sister also to follow Sunnahfollowers.com. Sunnahfollowers.com. Sister Laila.
Yes, we have a question from one of the men here. He says, so what's the difference between an apostate and a kafir?
From starters, the apostate is someone who basically had, as we said, has taken the shahada at one point, was born into Islam, who is a Muslim, who has practiced, who's prayed, who's been a member of the community. Now, when you become an apostate at that point, you are a kafir. I mean, if you have not, after all counseling attempts have been done, as we talked about earlier, you have still continued in disbelief. At that point, you're a kafir also. So you're an apostate who's also a kafir. But most kafirs, and we use that word mostly, correct me if I'm wrong, usually it refers to someone who's directly against the religion, from the beginning, someone who doesn't believe. But I believe, from my definition or interpretation of it, that you are a kafir once you become an apostate, like you had mentioned a couple of weeks ago about a gentleman with praying over his dead body because he abandoned the salah. Yeah. And if you abandon the salah, you basically apostatize and you're a kafir because you're stating that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prayers don't mean anything. You don't have to do it. So you're just disobeying God, basically. I don't believe in God, so I don't have to follow him.
There is a minor issue here. Kafir is not already not believing in Allah, not believing in Quran, not believing in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the kafir. Regardless, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, or whatever you want. But what is it? When he already Muslim and he believes Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah and he denies that. That's why if we have a Muslim country, and by the way, give me attention, there's no Muslim country in present time, not even Saudi Arabia. Not even Saudi Arabia. Don't think with Rasulullah born there, but the rule and regulation is no Muslim country at all. The rule for that, of course, as I mentioned, we have to be killed. Of course, the ulama, Abu Hanifa, and the Shafi'i, there's no maybe 3 days to repent. And Malik said giving 6 days, 7 days and so on. But the issue is not now. We can't say anything. But no, there's a difference between kafir is already clear. But Riddan or Mushri when I was here, believe in Islam and he denies. And he starts to speak about Islam is worse. But there is no Muslim country in present time allowed that. That means there is no Muslim leader follow what Allah said and Muhammad also said.
Especially with riba, talking about riba, the usury that goes on there, obviously.
Many things. There's 9 points.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, I got people on the mic. I got it.
Yes, anyone want them?
I have one from here.
Here? Oh, yes. Sorry.
Well, mine will be more of a comment, and then because I hardly do this. I know I'm supposed to be doing. What do I mean by that? Staying back after Isha and Saturdays coming for lectures. Both here and in Florida, I stayed for a couple of months, but I'm so glad that I stayed back today. Alhamdulillah, hopefully I will find time to join more. I'm supposed to be doing more.
I'm happy I can see I'm happy.
My comments were directed to the young Muslims that are here.
Listen carefully.
And I will say this from...
Hold on. Sunnahfollowers, can you hear that?
Yes, we can hear him.
Please, again.
So my comment is going to be to the young Muslims that are here. And This is from experience of another young Muslim lady from South Africa that came to this country about 16 years ago. And because our lecturer was talking about what multiculturalism is doing to Islam. This lady came from a Muslim family and she used to pray. She was living in Myrtle Beach. Friends were pharmacists, were working for the same company, and we used to, do things together, Ramadan and everything. Then she moved to upstate New York, and she started mixing with those that are not Muslims. Everything went down. Went down to the extent that, well, of course, she gives money. She gives money out to people she doesn't know in Africa. I'm talking about during Ramadan, $500, $1,000 to feed people. She does that. But she doesn't pray anymore. And what happened? Sometimes in February of this year, she went on a cruise. And then she was just coming back from the cruise. And then the last day, she was to go back to where she stays in Lakeland. She fainted and collapsed.
Yeah.
And she was rushed to Miami Hospital, and they found E. coli in her blood, and she couldn't talk for a couple of days. 5 days, she almost died. Now, and then when she survived that, then they moved her she came back home, and then she got another ulcer. She went for another surgery. She almost, I remember, but now I have to let her know that the only reason why you are alive is for you to go back to your religion. Yes. And start to pray. They said, no, I'm going back home because I want to go back to where I came from and be with Muslim. She left $120,000 job, secured with Walgreens, to go back home because she's to say back. I said back to it. So what am I trying to say? You have to be within the community. You have to love the masjid. Me that I'm preaching is God is to be God. I am not trying to say it's easy for you to go for Fajr and come for Isha every day. But if you really want to be within the religion and follow what the lecturer is saying and not look at much of culturalism that can change you so that you can say you can do this, you may not want to pray, you can fast whenever you want to fast, you can do this, the 5 times daily prayer, you may not do, you may just do 5, you don't do. You have to stay within the community and be friends with fellow Muslims.
So they are welcome. They are here now.
That is number 1. Number 2, you have to find a way to study and learn about the religion. The only person that can teach you about religion is yourself. The books are there. You can ask questions. Whatever you don't understand, ask. I'll tell you what happened between me and the man. I came for the first day I came for prayer. I was done in because I was part and parcel of those that built this masjid from the scratch till where we are. As the man said, "Oh, roll up your trousers." I said, "Why should I do that?" But nobody has ever asked me to do that. I'm like, "Why do I have to do that?" I said, "Okay," but I didn't do it. I called my brother back home, and I said, "I went to the masjid last night. The imam said that I should roll up my trousers. Why?" And I did not. My brother said, "Wait a minute. The reason why he asked you to roll up your trousers was because your trousers may gather dust or dirt, and he doesn't want you to invalidate your prayer. That was why he said you should roll up your trousers. So when next you do that, is make sure you." So you see, you have to ask questions and be educated. Mix with Muslim women, Muslim girls, because that's also very important. If you have a spouse that is not a Muslim, I am telling you, it's a very huge tax for you to remove it. I married a Christian. She's still a Christian. Despite the fact that I spent a lot of money to send her for Hajj in 2011. She came back, and to be honest with you, everything she went there to ask Allah, Allah gave it to her. Because as I said, she doesn't have a child. She looked for a child for years, never. She went back, she said, oh, they said, oh, when I go to Kaaba, I will be, all prayers are answered. I said, yes, it's true. If you want to go. Okay, how much was it? I paid about $11,000 to send her back. And she went. She has 3 voicemails. And we spent so much money at the Southeastern Healthcare Facility in Charleston. More than $40,000 tied everything before she but if you went for her, so you are the architect of your own being a good Muslim. So maybe you want to know so I'll do that.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. So the last question because the time is
Yes.
Well,
What is that question?
he asked about being haram to celebrate opposite religions' holidays. And that's always, especially in the West, is a very, very tough one.
We have our
Very, very sensitive and intelligent question. But
حبيبي we have got 2 holidays. 2 holidays, الأضحى and الفطر. Because we have celebration, we have fireworks also that, but no more. But if your friends in the school or in the school have their holiday, you don't have to say, oh no. But you don't have to be joined with that. You're not. Don't be part of that. But at the same time, don't be against it. Why? Because you don't have a problem when you are minority in school, public school. Okay? We are against it, yes. But we don't have to publicly, oh no, haram, this. We know what's haram. We know what's haram.
And that's about what we talked about in Ramadan this past year. We were doing videos online during that time, was trying to make Ramadan fun for the kids.
Exactly.
By having fireworks and games.
We have been possible for the kids. Okay, well, I would love to say more about it. Inshallah, that time is very tough. أسأل الله العظيم رب العالمين أن يجمعنا جميعا على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا فارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا فارزقنا اجتنابه واجمعنا مع رسول الله